All right, good evening, everybody. All right, we are here once again, and again, it's Roland, and we are about to head out to do Eve Station Trading, episode 43. Damn, well, not too far removed from our New Year's celebrations. For those that did. All right. I actually got a lot of stuff to go over today, but we'll do our best to actually cover most of them. I think some of them are probably going to be good building blocks for future market moves, especially if you are a resident of Proby, I think, or kind of general person that hangs out there. Alright, so first off, we'll get started with our calls from last week. These are pretty cool calls from last week, to be honest. For the most part, we haven't called some of these in a really long time, so it's pretty cool to actually see them kind of be active in the market again. So the first one we called out was a buy for ocular filter improved. Actually called out several implants last week. Okay, we called out ocular filter improved as a buy. It's still a buy. It improved a little bit from last week, but it didn't necessarily flip. Keep holding. I would say they're still at the bottom end, and they typically don't stay low too long. I guess with the seasonal boosters and implants that are around, those are much better choices to use versus these types of implants. So there is that. As soon as those lose their efficacy or just simply not be able to be used anymore, I imagine that the demand for these implants will return. Hey, Blub. Alright, next one we called out was the memory augmentation improved. So the memory variant. Alright, this one's a little better. We call it as a buy from last week. It was at its 90-day low, and it's starting to creep up there again within the last 2 days. So that's really good. I imagine it's probably because, again, the seasonal prizes are not as powerful anymore, or people are starting to swap over to the more permanent implants versus the ones that have a limited time use. So that's good. If you got it then, if you got it at 100 million, let's see what it looks like right now. Let's say you were one of the lucky few from last week that were able to capture it at 100 million. And you can cash out now at 127. It's actually it's a legitimate demand. Check that out. It's not even a full page for sales in Jita. That's actually pretty amazing. That is straight up just being bought. Like, they don't even care how much it costs. Wow, that's actually pretty amazing. All right, so if you got a piece of this last week, good for you. All right, next one's Fuller-Right C84. I call it as a buy. It's starting to peak up there. The volume hasn't changed much. It's still actually pretty stable at like 250,000 units. But let's say you got it last week at close to 4,000 units a piece, and now you can comfortably sell it. Let's see. It looks like it's touching nearly 5,000. Let's say you got it at 4,000. And now you're able to sell the for 49.78. That's really good. If you can manage, if you were able to play off the volume even, it's pretty good. Let's do some quick math on that. That's 24%. Damn near. Wow. That's amazing. So potential 24% turnaround from buy to sell in 1 week's time because you were able to capture this at its 90-day low. That's really good. My daughter's making a cake in the background. Alright, is that all for our buys? No, one more. An observe on fuel blocks. Let's go check that out. I'm actually much more conscious of the fuel blocks now, now that I'm attempting to do reactions. Fuel blocks is an input material for making polymer reactions. I'm sure it actually is a staple for all the other reactions as well, I imagine. Alright, not so different on helium. It's actually kind of elevated pricing, at least for the last 90 days. Hydrogen kind of spiked up. Inmatar, alright. Why the sudden, well, it's not a spike on volume, it's a spike on pricing, so that means the sell side got bought up. Or there's a lot more action on the sell side than the buy side. Okay. It's kind of weird. Wonder what's caused that. Nitrogen moving sideways. Okay, so this is actually really good for me, to be honest. No crazy spikes one way or another for the fuel blocks. So figuring out the potential profit for the reactions I intend to make should be pretty good. Also, is actually low. Wow. Okay, cool. All right, so kind of stagnant on fuel blocks. That's good. Alright, next thing I'm going to go over, guys, is our cell. So we called that from last week. So we call that a cell on scale extractors. It's a good thing we called that. We called it right around here, just as it was about to get low. So if you were, for some reason, had scale extractors and you didn't expect to do any kind of extraction, you would have sold it. You would have sold it pretty well. It didn't last very long because it's starting to correct right now. So there's that. So hopefully you're able to actually take advantage of that. Otherwise, I'd probably wait for an opportunity to actually do extraction on your characters, or well, what would cause an increase in value again? It's got to do with the plexus, I imagine. I mean, it might have been just a straight up missed opportunity, to be honest, because that was a historical high. So if you fail to sell at the historical high, then it's one of those things. It's going to be difficult to actually replicate that scenario again. Alright, next one we're going to look at Fullerite C28. Call it a sell because it was really close to the 90-day low, but then it's picked back up in the last 3 days. That's pretty good. Not a great change in volume. So let's say you got lucky and got this at, I don't know, like 7,500 maybe. Let's say 7,500. How much does it cost now? Yeah, I think it's pretty reasonable. Yeah, 75. These are runners of the old orders. So let's say 7,500, and you're selling it for 10. That's pretty good. 30% damn near. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. That's good. If you're able to play that off. And the one thing about the Fullerite specifically, out of all the raw materials, it's very common behavior for wormhole people to actually just insta-sell these. I know we discussed this last week. Because, you know, there's no bounties in the wormhole space. And one of the things that, kind of a consistent way to one of the more consistent things that are farmed, not necessarily minerals, but actually wormhole gas. Because that can be done as a day tripper. It's actually a lot easy. It's actually quite easy to do it as a day tripper. Day tripper being someone who doesn't live in a wormhole, but goes to wormhole specifically just to farm it. Okay, so you do your gas mining, you kill the rat, you kill the sleepers, you leave with a couple of venture holds worth of gases, and you sell it right to market. A lot of people that I know that are wormhole don't actually produce Tech 3, even though they physically have the means to acquire all the raw materials, process it, and then make Tech 3 items out of it. It's just not, from a skills perspective, it's quite intensive to actually be building Tech 3s. I hate to see, I know I can do it. I'm actually kind of like part-time living in a wormhole right now. So I'm looking forward to being able to hopefully get back to that kind of activity myself. All right, so let's see. One more item for our calls from last week. Attainment decryptor. So this is a decryptor. You get these from well, you mostly get it from data sites. It's a good call. Call it right around here. Yes, these are cells. That's kind of weird. Actually, we call it as a cell just due to the fact that it's gradually going up there, but it really spiked the last few days. So it actually became more of a cell the last few days. That's good. Hopefully, still got a bunch of these. No great change in volume, so it's not a volume play. People just need it. And people probably need it for Tech 2 production because you need these to, well, you don't need them, but it's nice to have these when you're trying to invent the Tech 2 blueprint copies. Without them, the chances of actually succeeding are they can be quite low. So you need these to better your chances, have a better multiplier for success. All right, so those are all our calls from last week. A couple of good calls, a couple of pretty pedestrian calls, to be honest. Nothing too crazy. So next thing I want to go over to you guys, some export stuff. I'm going to be linking a few of them. So this is the first one. Okay, so that's just a link to the EVE appraisal. This is a very interesting contract. When I received the contract, let me give you guys the actual screenshot of that contract. So, as you notice in that screenshot, and there's actually no price on it. So the person who sent me the contract, or sent my corp the contract, was kind enough to give me the opportunity to actually negotiate for the price. So that's thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So basically what I offered is the Amar buy price of 560 mil, I think. Yep, 560 mil. And right now I've actually already placed it on sale in Amar, and it's looking to hopefully, unless the prices change a lot, I'm looking to make around 750 million ISK out of that whole deal. So 560 to potentially 750. Let's take a look. 33% gain on that one. And what even makes it like that much juicier, to be honest, is the location of the contract. It was literally one jump out of our high-sec system that we are attached to. So there's no cost on jump fuel, nothing like that. I literally just took my my Cloaky transport and just pushed right through. So, hey, thank you very much for the contract. Thank you for the ability. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to actually negotiate the price. I really appreciate it. Yeah, man. Roger is a dancer behind me. Yep. Also, it's finally catching one of your streams. MER for December is out, by the way. Yeah, I just saw it too. Looks like there's a good amount of inflation due to historical low active ISK delta. We'll get to that. We'll get to that one. But for the most part, I tend to not, based on the scope that I operate in, the MER is cool to look at, but at the same time, it's not a lot of practical information I can actually use for that. It is not on my scale. I'm a small scale guy, super small scale. So it's cool that it exists. It's just same stories. It's honestly the same stories, you know. And we'll definitely go over that. I definitely want to touch up on that. Dancer behind me, yes. There's definitely a dancer behind me. Cake is being made as we speak, guys. Cake is being made as we speak. Yeah, so thanks for the contract there. And I'm very thankful that, at least in Provi, I think people started to notice that I actually am I actively seek out contracts over there. That people have been actually contacting me and trying to see if they can sell me stuff. So really appreciate that people seek me out to offer me contracts, which is a shame because that means that no one's picking up their contracts, even though they're actually posting it for very reasonable prices. Good for me, and it's a bit of a shame for the region. I must say that people are either not knowledgeable of the existence of such contracts, or they kind of just dismiss them, which is a shame. Because I'm going to give you guys an example of I've seen several, like, well over a dozen, easily, within the last week, of contracts like this, which I'm going to link right now. Alright, so that's a very simple contract, but I've seen easily about a dozen very similar contracts as far as the concept. So what is it exactly? It's random stuff. It's just, honest to goodness, random stuff. Loot, minerals, PI, fitted ships. I've been seeing a lot of fitted ships, like Tech 2 rigs, everything, man. So, which is kind of weird because what is this What is this signaling? It's signaling that people are either just genuinely fire selling their stuff, or just getting rid of assets, getting rid of their Providence assets. So before we delve into that, just going back to this contract real quick. So I bought that contract for 75 mil, and it can be sold for about 85 mil potentially. It's another one of those really cool contracts that I picked up because it just took me an interceptor to move it. It's one of those, like, don't need a drone freighter. It's just an interceptor, you know, because it's exploration stuff. It's super cheap. Yeah, I mean it's next to nothing in M3. Next to nothing. Fit for an interceptor. I can sell that for about 85 mil in Amar right now. It hasn't left Providence yet, but it will be. Admiral Entropy adds 0 way to check your access to a citadel other than flying there. So if you're in Providence, assuming that you are actually not KOS, that isn't an automatic indicator that you can dock in the Fortizars. Maybe some citadels that they have, like for example, I'll give you an example. So the main market Fortizar, which is F Tech Y, my my Sino alt, fresh, 0 kills on anything. Doesn't even fly a ship with guns. It's a Sino alt straight up. It does not have the ability to dock in the regional hub, even though it is not KOS and 0 history of kills. So you can have, but that's not necessarily the case in every single Fortizar, every single citadel. In my surrounding pockets, that same alt can actually dock. So it's really based on the ACL of the owners. Phelps falls if it's in the same region, you can see it if it appears in a structure window. If in the same region, you can see it if it appears in a structure window. Yep, structure browser. Yep, you can definitely inspect the structure browser by region. But that's why like, I have another character in Providence that's in another corp there that's strictly for like market stuff and like kind of just care bearish type stuff. I have to double check, but I think we just recently had the ability to actually dock in most of the citadels, if not all of them. So that's really cool. So it's one of those. It's cool that I'm showing you guys all these contracts. It's just that at the end of the day, depending on where they're at, you're gonna need a character to actually access those citadels. Because more often than not, those contracts actually are being made from citadels, not necessarily stations. So there's that. Yeah, so I'm expecting to see a lot more of those types of contracts. So before I get into kind of the reason, potentially one of the reasons why, I just want to let you guys know that my apostle build is done. Super excited. So, so what have I done since my apostle has been done? So I've had it for about 2 days now. And all I've really done with it is fit it. I can only use like Tech 1 triage on it, but like, yeah, it is what it is. And all I've been doing, honestly, is just moving all these doctrine ships that have littered all throughout the region because of CTAs and ops, and sometimes we can't safely make it back, so we just park it wherever the ops site was. And now I just collected all those little things, all those battleships, and sent them back to staging. That's all I did with them. But it was such a relief because like, oh, all right, great. All my combat battleships, all my CTA battleships are actually in staging now. Because otherwise they're kind of useless. Like it's honestly too dangerous to manually move them, even though it's just a couple of jumps. Providence is very hot right now. It's always kind of been hot on the routes that I would have to take manually. So I'm glad that they're all safe. I'm glad that they're actually usable. So hooray for staging. Alright, so what I'm going to be going over next is some battle reports. And we're going to discuss these battle reports because I think this can lead to potential market plays or production plays, if anything. Especially if you live in Providence, or at least have access to the Fortizars. So the first one, I'm going to link. This happened 2 days ago. Or 3 days ago now. That happened 3 days ago. Okay. There's a fight between Provi and PL and friends, and we won. So let me break the scene there. So I'm in a Raven, and we're, it's a structured defense, right? And a lot of stuff was happening. A lot of stuff in the background was happening. I'm just a simple line member, man. So I'm not privy to stuff that happens at high command, the preparation that happens at that level. I don't know none of that stuff. All I can say is like, so being in a Raven, in a jumpy type, as Tiberius has coined those types of ravens, the jumpy ravens. And we're about to face Macarials. So we're about to face Macarial. Okay, it's like, oh man, okay. I really hope our command destroyers are on the ball. Sorry, no, this isn't the one. This is the Ravens one. This is the one where we're just in Feroxes. So sorry about that. So this is the Ferox fight. So Feroxes versus Macarial. Feroxes versus Macarial. So sitting in the Ferox, hitting structures. Were we hitting? Yeah, we were. Yeah, hitting structures. And getting calls for, or the Macarials are coming in. Hopefully the command destroyers are on point. And then, without even kind of paying attention, the FC calls for a hick. So, like, the hick shows up literally like in less than 2 minutes. Like, it was ready. It was ready on site, but it didn't leave from staging with us. All right, so it's one of those super impromptu things. So we're hitting the structure. They're starting. PL starting to trickle in. Hick bubble comes up. All right, so it's been up for a while, for like a few minutes, and local spikes, and they're gonna be like warping into their perches. But for whatever reason, I guess they didn't gather intel of the grid. That Hick bubble literally dragged that entire Macarial fleet into, like, within 1,000 meters of us. It literally, like, it was like, it's us, Macarial fleet. And because of the range disparity, because these are, if you look at the battle report, these are RD Macarials. And we literally just tore them up. Just Macarials were falling, just boom, 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 boom. And man, whoever the Hick pilot was, whoever the FC was at the time, or whoever made that call to find the Hick, man, that was awesome. That was awesome. So that led to the destruction of, the very lopsided destruction of that fleet. Looking back at that battle report, as per the report, the PL side only managed a 39.5% efficiency, while we managed a 60.5% efficiency. So why is there value in showing this to you? Let's look at Macarials. Let's look at the Macarial picture. This happened on the 30th, okay? So I would. Actually, that's fine. That's fine. So with that loss of Macarials, so I can imagine that the war efforts, not just even in our area, creates a demand for the Macarials. Macarials is just a solid ship. It's a solid ship all around. So we've already established that if PL's out and about, they're probably going to be using Macarials whenever the situation calls for it, right? So if you were to, so is it reasonable to play Macarials right now? If you have the anticipation of seeing these types of conflicts within Providence, with the Macarial doctrines being fielded by PL and friends, I think it's very reasonable to actually expect them to constantly field Macarials. So right now, where are the Macarials pricing sitting at? They're actually sitting at a historical high. They really are. But is the Donchian chain large enough to actually accommodate intraday trading potentially? Well, let's take a look. So just looking at the Donchian channel, let's say, I don't know, 510 to 570. That's actually really close. Yeah, 510 to 540 is really low there, to be honest. 510 to 550, let's call that. 510 to 550. That's a 7% margin on something that costs literally $500 million. That's actually really good considering the volume and how steady it looks. Because if you were to look at the, it doubled in price recently. Was it sitting at like 200? No, it couldn't have been, man. It's sitting at 500 right now. It's been sitting historically around a bit over 500. At least unless you're looking at a different market hub, IRL. Is this a reasonable thing to play throughout the winter? Now, what would make it? Why is it that PL and friends are going to be? Are we anticipating them to basically fight us throughout most of the winter? Yes, we actually do. All right, because you know, it's Eve, and Providence is everyone's content. So I'm expecting like a lot of action, to be quite honest with you. And if Macarials are gonna continue to be fielded, yeah. Please play this. Please play this. Because even day trading it is actually very doable. A 7% spread on something that costs this much with this much volume is very, very doable. IRL says maybe not double, but definitely went up greatly. Yeah, it definitely has. It definitely has. It's not the impact of the price variance isn't very. It doesn't look like it's there when you look at the chart. But if you actually to observe it, just observe it like throughout a week, and you can kind of see how it goes like this. You really, really do. So if anyone out, let's say. Fell for CFP the last few months by recently an increase because CCP nerfed blueprint drop rates twice, I think. Oh yeah. It's kind of hard to. Well, I guess within the last maybe a bit over, maybe 200 days or so, it definitely has increased in price. So yeah. Has the volume actually changed though? Oddly enough, the volume hasn't changed. It sits at about 100. So the price has gone up, but the volume hasn't changed. That's kind of weird. But we find enough use for the Macarial and it warrants it. So if you can play the Macarial, please play the Macarial. If PL is around Providence, they're gonna break this out. They will break out this doctrine. They have to. I should say they have to, but they're in a financial position to be able to comfortably, I think. Alright, so that's a battle report that we won. Now I'm going to show you guys another battle report. This one we actually lost, unfortunately. This is the Raven one. We lost the jumpy Ravens. Alright, so a whole lot of Raven losses. It's basically they same thing. It's a hub defense. Unfortunately, on this one, we really ate it. We really ate it. PL achieved an efficiency of 81.1%, while Providence only had an 18.9% efficiency. So we lost this pretty hard. And it's just one of those, stuff happens, you know what I mean? Stuff happens. One thing I would say from a market perspective, let's look at Ravens real quick. So we looked at the Macarials. We'll look at the Feroses later because we're actually calling it out. But let's look at the Ravens. Hit a 90-day low, and right before the action started picking up, it actually went up. So let's say, let's kind of play devil's advocate. Let's say like, oh, you know what? Oh, there's about to be some consecutive number of conflicts happen or engagements happening in Proviland, and I have an idea of what's probably going to be fielded. Let's say you're one of those people. And if you figured this out, man, kudos to you, man. Kudos to you. Let's say within the last, let's say like 30, 35 days, you bought your Ravens or built your Ravens, right? Like 120 mil, something like that. How much do they cost now? 120 to 142. Let's just say someone out there actually made this play. I think we called out Ravens. Actually, no, we didn't call out Tech 1 Ravens. I think I might have, actually. Either it was a Tech 1 Raven I called out or it was a Navy Raven I called out. But one of those. So let's say 120 to 142. It's 18% difference. That's pretty good. That's really good, actually. So the potential for large gains were there. So we've seen Feroxes, we've seen Macarios, we've seen Ravens. Is there potential for playing Ravens? I would caution people against that, even if you actually have access to Provi. And this is why. This is Tech 1. A lot of people might not think it, but a lot of mining happens in Provi. A lot of mining happens in Provi. A lot of Tech 1 production, local Tech 1 production, actually happens in Providence. That's why I very much caution you if you are one of those like, oh man, they're going to be using the ship, Providence needs this stuff. It's like, stop. Stop, 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 stop. Before you do that, you please look at the numbers. Please look at the markets in real time. Like, physically bring a character to the region. Don't just rely on whatever outside tools there are. Like, actually look at the real-time information, please. Because if I were to log on my cat Rodin that's in Providence right now, I can tell you as a matter of fact that the price of our Tech 1 doctrines is actually very close to Jita prices. They're super close. Like, there's no value in even acquiring buy orders for our Tech 1 hull doctrines and moving it to Provi to sell, because I'm going to lose out on profits just by virtue of the jump fuel cost. It's like, and the reason why that is it's because Tech 1 production is actually actively happening in Providence, and you cannot compete with our Tech 1 production guys because we get the bonuses for production in our NOSEC, in our NOSEC engineering complexes. The bonuses are nice, man. NOSEC bonuses are nice. From the compression to the production, and not having to actually jump fader stuff around, because it's Tech 1. It's totally doable for us. However, so with that being said, I would say, as far as importing into Providence, please stay away from the Tech 1 hull doctrine. Please stay away from the Tech 1 hulls, but do investigate Tech 2 modules and Tech 2 ships, because that cannot be actually locally produced without any level of importing, whether it be through components or the actual ship itself. That's where you're gonna, as an importer, that's where you'll probably have a lot more success versus trying to compete against our Tech 1 producers. I learned that the hard way, man. I barely broke even on the Feroxes that I made. Barely. I moved like 44 Feroxes. Barely made it. It wasn't worth the effort. At the end of the day, it wasn't worth the effort. So do be careful about that stuff. Alright, so talked about that. Alright, I just have a follow-up question to that before we get into our MER, which is, it's not going to be that extensive, to be honest. It's actually a discussion that me and one of my alliance mates made, because and I think I was being a smartass, to be honest. But basically, this is the discussion. Is an aggressive exporting methodology harmful to a null-sec regional market? So let me explain that. So me being, I'm very public with what I do. Bro, entropy, Tech 1 is generally not profitable due to my minerals I mine are free syndrome. Yeah, totally. That's actually a really good segue to what I'm about to discuss with you guys. So it came up where, no names or nothing. Not even fine. I'm talking about broad strokes here. So me as an importer-exporter, is someone like me that's an aggressive market person. Not belligerent, but like someone who approaches the market in a very competitive fashion. Are players like that actually harmful to, I wouldn't say Nosec regions in general, but to Providence, in more specifically to Providence? I think based on the very small experience that I have, honestly, in Nosec, besides Providence, I was probably, a few months removed. Hey, Sarge, what's up, man? We don't have any ops today, do we? Shit. But it seems like, so yeah, I mean, is our competitive market players like me, or like us, honestly. Chicken Hawk asks, MIMAF. Minerals I mine are free. Are aggressive exporters a detriment to a region like Providence, where the market aspect is actually quite vulnerable, I think? I'm just talking to my pilots for MIMAF. For real, Sarge, for real. So I thought about that for a minute, and I think there's aspects of it where I guess guys like us can be dangerous, or not, I should say dangerous, but not helpful to a region. Because then the argument goes, well, if I buy stuff out of the market, and mind you, the things I exported are actually straight out of cells because they priced it so low. So I take it out of cell. I take it out of the market via the sell orders, but I don't use it for ops. I don't use it to rat with or anything like that. I actually export. I export it back to Amar. All these modules, all these ships, all these minerals that are super, super cheap, I take it back to Amar. Is that bad behavior? Even though I didn't relist, I bought it fair and square, but is that very act bad for the market health of a region, in Nosec specifically? I guess it depends on the scale that it happens. But I can definitely see why it can be bad. However, my counter argument to that is, I bought the stuff fair and square, man. Like, I'm not sure why you're mad at me if I bought it fair and square. I mean, short of the coalition heads having a better visibility and willingness to actually manage the regional market, I don't think there's a whole lot they can do to actually prevent that kind of behavior. So it's like, if you don't do it, I will. For real! For real, man, for real! And my thing too is like, and I kind of was on this path of explaining, well, you have to be able to give incentive to not just to the sellers and the buyers. If you don't do that, if you don't have enough people participating actively in the market, it's gonna go stale, and it actually becomes a lot easier to manipulate if not many people are actually actively participating. Admiral Entropy, it drives up demand for the minerals, so prices in the region goes up. More profit from minerals and no. That's so true. That's so true. But they don't see it as that though, because it's almost as if it has no value. It's almost, because they think, oh, I just mined it, it's free. Like, no, man, your time is valuable. There's a price attached to your time because it's real, Felfos says, it's bad if people are stupid and selling way below cost. Dude, bro. Just look at the contracts I've been stealing, man. Jesus. Also, the profit you make don't go back into the region. Yeah, yeah. But is it a fair expectation though to, if I sell something in Nosec region A, is it a fair expectation that if it gets sold, that whoever bought it should somehow use that within the region? Should that be demanded of the sellers, or sorry, should that be demanded of the buyers of the product? I don't know. I don't think so. To be honest, there's no way you can police that. This is I couldn't. I wouldn't know how you'd be able to police that. Philhouse, but the argument, especially for Provi, is ultimately pointless because anyone that isn't KOS could come in and scoop up those deals. Yep. Yep. Very true. I think it was a worthwhile discussion. It's just at my very small level, I think there's a lot of improvements that can be made. Of course, I don't see the whole picture for them. I don't see the whole market picture of Provi, but I don't think enough people with the ability to actually make changes care enough to bother with the regional market. Sergeant's like, market POV is no different than cold role players. That's true. Both are playing the game there. Yeah, that's true. I mean, and because I'll call it out. Like the FCs that we have, they're great. Don't get me wrong, they're great FCs. It's just come op time, it's like their expectation is the stuff should be in market. Like, no. Why would you expect that as in market? Is it a price that actually is attractive for someone to either to mine it, produce it, and stage it for sale? Is it attractive for someone to actually jump freighter it in? If those conditions are not met, the product just isn't going to show up unless it just shows up out of charity. But that's another person. I mean, that's another issue, because those charity contracts do happen. If we really need ships and people are willing to just, yay, take this contract, just cover the costs. Take this contract, take this contract, take this contract. And that's fine, But as far as an intelligently functioning regional market, it's not quite there. It can be there. It's just there's not enough people actively playing the market to actually make it self-regulate, unfortunately. Cosmic Patterson asks, Rodin, if I want to set a chunk of is like 20 billion into an asset for 1 to 2 months until I need it again, is there anything better than Plex? Right now, I would say anything Tech 3. So what I mean by that is wormhole gases and maybe the actual polymers, because they've been sitting at near historical lows, and it's not moving up. It's just moving sideways. So I would definitely encourage you to do a bit of research in them, or ask people who are active wormholers right now to figure out what the scene actually looks like. But that's from a market perspective. That's what we've been seeing. Actually, just to kind of go over that, let's look at that real quick. Got plenty of time, man. The holidays, there's nobody after us. Power scale injectors do. Admiral, I would say please look at the small injectors over the large injectors. There's way more volatility and potential profit in small injectors versus large injectors. It's pretty steady. Large is 9-day highs again. Small, topping out about 830. Small's way more volatile. Way more volatile. That volatility makes it nice for intraday flipping. But let's look at the gases real quick. Cosmic. This is the raw. It's just moving sideways, man. And the reason I say, but why bother with this? I don't have the battle report yet, but what's a good complement? What kind is in that same realm of Macarials, Feroxes, Ravens? Is Tech 3s. Tech 3s are stupidly cheap right now. They're stupidly cheap. I mean, just from a cost perspective, they're a great complement to any full-fledged coalition comp. So that's just my kind of large scale, kind of long-term idea on that. It's not based on performance, but based on pricing. I think they're really good ISK per performance attributes for today, for the pricing right now. So that, and it's just cheap. It's just cheap to make them right now. It's just really cheap to make them. See all these raw gas, and these are the largest contributor to the price of the Tech 3s is the gases. The gases turn to polymers, and polymers turn to Tech 3. So if I were wanting to sync something for that amount for about 2 months, I'd put it in Tech 3 item. And the nice thing about the gases, the fullerenes, is they actually are. If you play the buy order side actively, you can get a lot of these because as we discussed earlier, wormholers just insta sell these. They insta sell them because there's no bounties in wormhole space, and people are compelled to do it in that way. They just are. All right, great. All right, so I'm gonna go over the MER real quick. It's just a few large ideas that I want to share with that one. They're nothing fresh, honestly. So that just came out today. The MER for North Economic Report for December. Nothing incredibly crazy in there. At the end of the day, it's kind of the same story. Destruction is still far too low compared to production, which is detailed very accurately by the graph, by the report. Unfortunately, it's just the destruction is way too low. Like the destruction is lower than the mining value. That's really bad. That's really bad. And that's what causes a lot of these things. Like it's been a buyer's market for a really long time. So destruction is still far too low compared to production. Delve is still winning. It's going to continue to win. There's just no way around it. I'm sorry, guys. There just isn't. No one compares to that level of organization right now. I don't think anyone outside of that circle is compelled to actually approach the game the way they do, even though they are close to having the numbers. So, positive ISK delta provides evidence of new accounts being created, not necessarily genuine new players. So ISK delta, that's basically, let me look at the report and ISK delta is defined. The net effect of ISK coming and going with player accounts, including all GM actions. So a player being banned and all his wallet, all the ISK in his wallet goes away to the ether. That contributes to the ISK delta. New characters being created and they have that starting money, that's contributed to the ISK delta. I think that's that may be oversimplification, but in either case, the positive ISK delta does denote that new characters are being created. Sorry, this is already announced Goosebump Failscade losing 20% of mining value from the map. That's the holidays, man. So, yeah, so the ISK delta actually reports that. I wish there was a way for CCP to actually report that one way or another, are these alpha accounts genuine new players or are they not? Because it'll be a nice indicator of if there are actually new people trying the game. I don't think CCP will ever actually reveal that, even if they could actually figure that out. But in either case, based on the ISK delta, new accounts are being created. So there's that. Hopefully a good portion of them are genuine new accounts. Alright, so now we're going to go to our predictions for the week. First I'm going to go to is Pontifex. We use a ton of Pontifexes in our office. If you're a builder out there or a jump fader or an active jump fader dude that can service Spravi, we need like tons of these things for real. I'm not feeling compelled to do that, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather work on my wormhole. So kind of like the same. So this is actually very indicative. We had a big up. A lot of pawn effects were sold. And now it's back down again. So is it fair to assume that we're gonna, so everybody talks about in the beginning based on the battle reports, based on kind of the conditions in Providence, and it's the winter time and we are the content. Things like command destroyers are a mainstay. They're absolutely necessary for large ops because of what they do. You know, like booshing things around. Hell yeah, that's needed, man. Like it's actually pretty cool to to been part of. To how they I'm absolutely amazed at how those FCs figure that stuff out. That's amazing to me. But in either case, there was an active demand. There was a fight, and now they're back down in price. It might be a good time to pick it up. There will be more fights, I assure you. All right, next thing will be the Ferox. This is another staple for us. Unless you can outcompete our local producers, like don't mess with this. Don't mess with this market. You can get burned. At least for Provi. I don't know how everybody else does it. Okay. Right now it's 90 day. It's potentially hitting 90-day lows. It is at the outlier part of the Dungeon channel there though, but that's fine. At the very least, you're potentially getting it on sale. All right. It is a very popular ship, and we're not the only place that uses them. Like it's used quite universally. So if you can get them on the cheap right now and then resell them right before a large op for your own coalition, or right before right as things are heating up, it might be a good time to post it for sale then if you can capture it now. Next one's going to be a multiple pilot training certificate. So this is going to be interesting. And it's going to be interesting because let me link something to you guys real quick. I wasn't aware of this at all. I'm not sure how long it's going to go. So CCP is running this special right now. All right, well, hope to see you next time, Admiral. So check out that link, guys. So this is, I'm gonna read along here. So this is a special deal from CCP at Omega time. If you were actually to subscribe, do a multiple month subscription, you get. Well, maybe it already passed. Oh, it looks like it already passed. But when I was coming up with these notes, there was a special that was happening. I guess it doesn't show here anymore. Sorry about that. I guess the offer is done. Ended yesterday. Okay. So what was happening was if you were doing a multi-month subscription, you were getting free days worth of multiple pilot training. I wish I could I'll buy all the Feroxes right now. Right meow. So all those you know, a lot of people were using the were gifted multiple pilot training time. So right now it's a buy because it's just it's a 90-day low right now. Hey Cap, what's up, man? But we'll see how that plays out. You know, I'm not sure if your account is just gifted the multiple pilot training time or you're actually gifted the certificate. I'm not sure. But in either case, some people were gifted. Let's say some people were just gifted it. They may not have a particular need to get one from the market now that they actually got some. So that actually might drive up demand. Hopefully, we'll see. But it's what you know. I'm not quite sure how that actually is given to you since I didn't partake in that deal. So, but in either case, regardless of that, the multiple pilot train certificate is actually trending downwards. Trending downwards with volume too. It's not much, but from 125 to 170, 160s, yeah. For low volume items, even just a few dozen units plus or minus for the day, it's actually pretty chaotic. That's it. Now for ourselves, let's start off with our nightmares. I think I have an idea of what caused this. So, just based on the chart, is an obvious sell, right? If you're sitting on nightmare BPCs, make them, sell them. If you're sitting on the hulls and you don't intend to use them, sell them. So why is this important? We had an op today, and there's a whole bunch of nightmares on the field. I was kind of like, really, nightmares? Holy shit! So that's actually pretty interesting to see, right? So now we're kind of having a picture of the doctrines that are potentially going to be in use for these conflicts. I wouldn't call these things war. Like, as a military person, I can't actually call them war. It doesn't fit the bill. But so we've seen obviously Macarials, we've seen Ravens, we've seen Feroses, and now we're seeing Nightmares. Why Nightmares? I don't know. I just wanted to use them. I don't know. I don't know why Nightmares. They seem like a really expensive. Based on what they can do, I don't know why you wouldn't just. Based on the price, I don't know why you wouldn't just continue with the Macarials. But I think it was Test that used them. Yeah, Test used Nightmares today. Pretty sure it was Test. So that was pretty interesting, and it definitely reflected on the market that it was going to be that someone somewhere was about to use them. So that was pretty cool. Will this trend maintain a high price like this? Probably not. It's going to go sideways unless that doctrine use is not a gimmick. Sorry, I don't know what's funnier, Elmo's reaction to your dream or Elmo reacting to 4-2 is. Yeah, 4-2 is, man. It was good to see Elmo there. So yeah, I mean, if I'm totally off my stuff, I can only report on. I can only talk about at least my perception of it. That really is it. That really is it. If it's wrong, that's okay. As long as I can make the connection to the market stuff. Man, it's been a while since I personally have even used Nightmares. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it doesn't seem sustainable to me. I don't know if it's gonna continue to go up there, but if it does, I don't know what the actual combat value is of this versus Macarials. He's distracted by my camera. What? Because like the position of camera there, the moving people. I know, right? It's a live house. Actually, to be honest, I have seen Nightmares. The Nightmare BPC costs are actually going up naturally in Amar. I'm not really sure what's driving that. It could just be people not farming right now, to be honest. There's that. There's always that. So if you're, let's just for gigs, take a look at how the contracts look like. The cheapest I've seen within the week was like 300 or something. Like 2 weeks before that, I bought them for about 200, 220, 200 to 220 mil locally in Pravi. I thought it was a pretty good deal. Cheapest 292. So it's not just demand from use, it's demand from the price of the BPCs going up. People don't have the time or the ability to actually farm them right now, and it's causing a natural price increase due to availability. That's pretty interesting. I mean, it only in mineral value, it's only like 120 or something like that. It's not much. So there's still profit, obviously. Like you can, I would definitely do the math, like for real, do the math. But when I bought it, yeah, it was like a bit over 100. It's the same mineral cost as the whatever the Tech 1 variation would be. I mean, most battleship mineral costs, it's like slightly above 100 mil. So even then, though, that's actually a really good price, though. Actually, no. So let's say 300, and it's like 300. There isn't much left. Not really. You'd think, because this stuff doesn't sell that quickly. Even in Jita, you'd actually have to sell this low. You'd have to sell this in Omar. If you can get away with actually selling this in Omar, you'd be better off. Yeah, 50, less than 50, like 20 units per day. 20 to 30 units per day. Alright, and finally, Caldari Navy Hook Bill. Hook bills are gross, man. I don't know who flies these things. So why does it look like this? Because Caldari is still at tier 1, man. They're still at tier 1. They're not gonna get out of tier 1. So why? Actually, well. So on some faction warfare news, let me see if I can actually find the news bit. There it is. It's funny, man. It's funny because I've seen shit like this before, and it usually doesn't end well. So that is a news bit from Imperium News that FCON, all a bit over 100 of them, whoever's left, are moving to Caldari Militia. What? Get the hell out of here. Get that nasty null mindset out of my lowsec. Get out of here. Get out of here with that noise. The last time I saw something like that, actually it's not even the same scale. The last time I saw something like that was several years ago when Test actually went to Cal Mill. You would think that, they would actually, do the faction warfare thing, like make the money and all that stuff. Brave did the same thing. But not really. They don't actually do the faction warfare farming thing. They kind of just hang out. Some of their members do, obviously, for money. But most don't. So it's cool that a large corporation, large organization is going to LowSec to participate in that gameplay. Is that actually going to change Cal Mill? Do they have a better chance of actually getting up there and competing with Gal Mill? No. No. You don't just compete with Gal Mill. You compete with Gal Mill and the neutral pirates. Sorry, that's just how it is. So if you have access to Caldari Faction LP, just Caldari Faction LP in general, and you have the ability to cash out, dude, cash out now, man. It looks like, I mean, people are buying it. I mean, people are buying it to use it, because I can't imagine you're able to resell it for more than what you're getting in Gina. 23 mil? Nah. You can get that for a comment. I'd pay that all day for a comment, though. But a comment's a comment. It's a good ship. Hook bill? Not so much. Not compared to the comment. So with that being said, it'll be interesting to see what FCON actually does to the Warzone, if they do anything at all. Because not only are you competing as Caldari, having been in all the factions, when you're in Cal Mill, it's literally like you against everybody else. Calmil. It's Calmil. It's not Calmil versus Galmil. It's Calmil versus Galmil versus neutral pirates versus everyone else who just day trips in low sec versus Minmatar. Like everybody just gangs up on you, man. As Kaldari militia, it's just the way it is. It's just the way the social stuff works out. And I mean, in all honesty, Calmil is actually quite large for a faction. Even at tier 1, you'd think that people actually go away and swap out, but they don't, man. They just stay there. So they stay there and they actually don't do anything in the war zone, unfortunately. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. We had a couple of good calls from last week. Hopefully we can continue that this week with the new year. One thing that, and just a quick update, hopefully I'll be able to do more wormhole kind of like wormhole news and whatnot. Boz, like, it's because squids are horrible. They are. They really are. Like, to be honest, the only my more memorable times is being in Calmil, because I've been with all the factions at one point or another. It's just shit talking in their militia chat. They have the best militia chat out of all the militia chats. The best. Primo stuff happens in that militia chat, man. Primo stuff. It's like live Reddit. It's awesome. It's so good. It's so good. It's a quick thing. I'm gonna ask my wormhole dudes if I can, if they have some things they want to pass or recruitment stuff. I don't know. But I was Galmil for a long time. Loved it. Actually missed it. Yeah, I'm back in Galmil now. I took my faction warfare character, did the whole Amar Minmatar thing. It's so stale in that war zone. It's so stale. So I went back to Galmil. It was nice, man. I got surprised with the things that beat me, actually. I gotta get back to it. My old fits are kind of useless right now. They're too slow and brawly. That's for sure. Too slow and brawly. I'm hoping to be able to actually do reactions soon-ish, and actually look at the numbers. I need to still do the spreadsheets on that one. It looks like it can be done cheaply right now. It looks like it can be done cheaply right now, but the price is cheap too, so I don't know if there's enough meat on the bone there. Besides that, definitely we'll continue to do like these battle report and kind of market information cross-referencing with you guys. So for now, we kind of established things to look out for that are going to be hopefully getting destroyed a lot, right? So we were talking about the Macarils, talking about the Feroxes, talking about Command Destroyers for sure, Ravens of all things, and potentially Tech 3s. Okay. Besides that, not a whole lot. We'll see how things shape up with a good portion of structures actually being threatened in Providence. Will there be a demand for PI in order to replace them, or at least kind of have stuff stocked up? I don't know, but it's definitely worthwhile starting to look at PI again if there's a very real threat of structure destruction. So, all right. Besides that, I think I don't have anything else. Yeah, don't got anything else. That's all I got, guys. Thanks again for being in the stream. Talked about a lot of good stuff here. And hopefully we can all continue to make some money out there. And hopefully there's going to be some news about the CSM soon. Haven't seen much of anything yet, but hopefully something comes out. Hopefully it happens this year. I'm really hoping. I haven't heard anything, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see who shows up to actually be candidates. Especially for... if there's going to be representatives for not 100% nullsec. We'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. Alright, that's all I got, guys. As per usual, this will make it to YouTube by tomorrow for sure, and post it then. That's all I got, and we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for coming up. Yeah, no, okay, we gotta watch the YouTube, man. Yeah, it'll be up in about a few hours, man, or by tomorrow for sure.